Now, when he joined the military as an engineer cadet, little did he know that he would be later on tasked with being the president's aide-de-camp, a job that would entail being within a foot of President Mwai Kibaki at any given time, keeping the former president schedule and ensuring his safety were just about some of his duties. Retired Colonel Geoffrey Kingangi is our guest in this week's edition of Military Tales.
We visit retired Colonel Geoffrey Muturi Kingangi at his home in Kilimani, Nairobi. Retired Colonel was born in Gashoka, Mbere South sub-county of Embu County, the seventh child of a family of 13 siblings.
I come from Embu, Mbere South sub-county. I'm a constituency in Gashoka. I went to school in Genge Primary School. It's a rural school. So in primary school, there was a kid from our family in every class. So once you go to Form 1, the following year there's somebody going to Form 1. I went to secondary school in Chicago.
Despite school fees challenges in his early education life, Colonel Kingangi was determined and studied to become a civil engineer.
Thereafter, I went to Kenya Polytechnic to do a diploma in building and civil engineering. After that, I worked with the Ministry of Works in the architectural department. That is the time now I traveled Kenya, supervised project for the police and the office of the president. We flew all over the place.
The military then came calling and was one of the few chosen to join the Kenya Army as a cadet.
The military were looking for engineers and technically qualified people to start the now core of engineers. It was just beginning. So they need the architects, all manner of people. So I was recruited from the office. So I joined the military as a building and civil engineer. Thereafter, upon graduation, I joined the Royal School of Military Engineers in London to study combat engineering. I came back and I was deployed as a combat engineer in the Corps of Engineers, specifically 10 Engineers Battalion in Nanyuki. I was an instructor in building trades.
He would serve in numerous foreign missions in the country and beyond.
I was again sent to India to the School of Military Intelligence to study combat engineering, combat intelligence. On return, I now had two specialties. I was a combat engineer and I was a combat intelligence officer. I also served in the United Nations missions in Sierra Leone for a year. I served in United Nations mission in DRC Congo for a year. And I also participated in several special assignments.
He would later rise up the ranks to become the head of military intelligence in the army.
I got my promotions and I ended up in the headquarters of Kenya Army as the SO1 intelligence, that is Staff Officer 1 intelligence, meaning I was in charge of intelligence in the whole of Kenya Army. It's interesting to note that while I was in charge of intelligence, that is when the 2007 and 2008 post-election violence happened. So I was privy, I participated, I was in the background, and it was very momentous and important time for anyone who is in the service to be actively serving in that time. You learn so much.
His diligent work saw him promoted to the Secretary of the National Security Committee, where he would later end up at State House.
Thereafter again, I was assigned and attached to Office of the President and Ambassador Malaura as Head of Civil Service to be the Military Secretary to the National Security Advisory Committee. So it is a top decision-making committee for security. apart from now cabinet and the president himself. So I became the secretary and I served there for 3 years.
His biggest assignment came in 2009 when he was appointed as the aide-de-camp of the country's third president, Mwai Kibaki.
From there that I was spotted and attached to the State House to be the ADC. That was 2009 to 2010, thereabouts. In 2010, we participated in the campaigns for the 2010 Constitution, the campaigns for the Constitution, the referendum, and obviously the promulgation. That's a proud moment, and I think it's a landmark for Kenya. I was proud to have been serving at that time.
As Kingangi notes, the work of an aide-de-camp was very engaging and entailed more than just securing the head of state.
The aide-de-camp is you are there to assist the president to perform his duties, particularly public duties, which means you alert that he will read a speech. You must know where the speech is. You are allowed to know that at a certain time he will be moving to another meeting. And you have to be alert to that. And you have to know what to do to make sure the meeting ends in time. You are allowed to know if you're flying an helicopter, helicopters don't fly at night. But more importantly is that the ADC is a quick link. It's like a hotline to the defense headquarters. Finally, the president's safety. When you're standing behind the president, you have the view of everybody in front of the president. The president is busy talking or he's seated there, so you send a signal so that fella is intercepted before he gets too near.
Kingangi remembers an incident in the year 2012 when he had to secure the then President Mwai Kibaki from a raging inferno when the late president led the nation in burning ivory that had been seized from poachers.
I think one time we were burning ivory somewhere down, I think it was Savo National Park. Now people don't know that ivory doesn't burn. It actually doesn't burn. So when you see flames coming out, there is an engine somewhere pumping diesel under the ivory. So in this case, the president was given the torch. He tried once, twice. So people panicked and saying, Ongeza. So more fuel was pumped. But the president was busy lighting. The escort commander who is in front of him tried to snatch the torch from him. He refused. And the fire was becoming bigger. I had to move around quickly and stand in front of him. But it was so quick, so quick that it would have been a disaster. But the fire never went far. Of course, that was it. So the safety.
He says many people didn't know that the late President Mwai Kibaki had a bias for perfection and doing things properly.
I learned, even in the military and serving with the president, that you have to do the proper thing all the time. Do the proper thing. Don't worry about the consequences. You cannot go wrong.
As the man tasked with being the president's shadow, that meant he had to skip several personal engagements and had little time for his family.
It can strain the family. It can strain the family because I think what is most straining is not even the immediate family, because you're with them. But you have your mother and your father and whatever, things are happening, there's a burial, there's a wedding, there's a this, and you completely miss. So in such cases, I would have to send somebody to say ADC could not come.
Colonel Kingangi would later resign from the force to join politics, seeking the Mbeere South MP seat in the year 2012, but was unsuccessful in his first stint.
When I went to politics, I was very mistaken, because I thought it's like the military. I'll tell people, this is what we are doing, let's go, they will do it. They don't. Have managed to transform from a military to a politician. The people in the village, they come as individuals to Mheshimiwa. You have to stop and listen. And funny enough, you learn a lot when you listen. And I think it has made me a better person even in the family.
He would later be appointed as the chairman of the National Cereals and Produce Board the same year, but later resigned to try his hands at politics again in 2017. This time round, he successfully became the Mbeere South MP, a post he served for 5 years till the 2022 elections, where he chose not to defend his seat to join President William Ruto's campaign trail. A family man with children living abroad, Kingangi also enjoys singing in the church choir and reading.
Retired Colonel Honorable Geoffrey Kingangi has served the country for decades as a military officer and also as a legislator. And he notes that the future of the country is bright if we all pull together as Kenyans.
Just hours after we recorded this interview, retired Colonel Geoffrey Kingangi was appointed by President William Ruto as the Deputy National Security Advisor for External Affairs.
For Military Tales, I'm Ben Troy Joy.